Hey guys, how's it going? Hope everyone's doing well and all that jazz. So, this is where we left off on the last stream. Let me just turn the levels up a little bit. There we go. But yeah, this is where we left off on the last stream. Obviously, we primarily worked in the back of the head, so the actual progression stream image doesn't really look very different. Off stream, I have done a little bit of work. I've primarily worked on the meshes. I've not actually worked on the groom at all. So the back of the head was pretty basic. Now I've just done this render like literally just before starting this. So I've modelled this kind of braid wraparound at the back just to kind of mask where all the braids are connecting. I've also changed the shape of these braids. I've added a little bit of variation to size, not much though. And I've also started matching them to the scalp, so we can kind of get that feeling of hair being pulled in. I will obviously be having to make a groom that does that for the rest of the length of the braid, but in terms of having like the tube groom that goes along the braid, this is kind of the easiest way to blend it. If you just have the tube go like into this like cone shape, it makes it feel like the hair's being pulled from the scalp, and then we have another groom go between all of it. And then this I've just attached to the back of the head. There's like several grooms that are starting like from the same point, but you know, it's CG, we can fake some stuff if we want to. It's way easier to do that than to do anything else really. But yeah, so as always, if there's any questions, do let me know. If there aren't any questions, then I guess the chat will be silent for the whole stream. But yeah, so this is where we're currently at. Also in the last stream we did do quite a lot on the baby hair and kind of filling out this. These fireflies make it feel like dandruff. But yeah, so that's kind of where we ended up. So I'm gonna close this, and yeah. So here's our new model. Again, not a huge amount been done, just enough really. So I'm gonna have to hide the grooms, but yeah, you can see how kind of I've matched, well, close enough. I've matched the meshes from these braids to go through the scalp. Obviously, I will be exactly matching that. Hey Ian, how you doing? I will be exactly matching these to the scalp at some point. I'm not sure how precise it needs to be for X-Gen tube grooming, but I'd rather it be, you know, perfect. So I'll just set the head as a live object or something. And then these braids I've also pulled a lot closer to the head on the back, because I noticed that they were floating way too far away. Nice neck hairs. Thanks, man. But yeah, I noticed that they were floating just a bit too far away, so that would have looked really strange when I'd matched the rest of the grooms to it. So at the start of this session, I will be continuing with the models. But hopefully by the end of the session, I should be able to start on matching grooms to these. I'm not going to groom these yet because they're proxy enough for themselves, to be honest. Like, I can use the meshes for a while. And then once I'm happy with where everything is, then I can set it in stone by turning these into a groom, which I'm just going to do with tube grooming even. But yeah, so let's go into the tied groom and just hide that. No, that's not a tied groom. It's the braid root groom. So yeah, basically braids, obviously kind of goes without saying, are just like a section of hair pulled into a tight area. So what you're going to find is, because it's a section that's taken, the root of it is a lot thicker than the rest of it, which kind of means that the density of hair can be lower here and still look dense on the actual braid itself. If you're wondering why I'm not using a live mesh right now, it's because it's bugged out for some reason. So whenever I use a live mesh, or reference mesh, or I can't remember the exact phrase, but whenever I use that, it has a tendency of like glitching out when I move the vertices, like they don't move along. Like if I try to move, no, I'll show you. So let's select this head, which is in render group, I believe. No, it's in FKA twigs group, of course. Select this, set it as a live surface, so you'll see kind of immediately what I'm talking about. So this one follows fine. Watch all of them follow fine now. So it's already not matching much there, but that's not too severe. Let's see if we can find one that's not matching at all. We might actually be quite lucky at the moment. I'll keep live mesh on while I work, and then we'll see when it breaks. When I was working on this off stream, it was breaking constantly. Oh, yeah, that's fine now. And it's important, oh there we go. There we go. It's important that these meshes don't overlap. For the tube groom, it doesn't really know how to interpret overlapping meshes. So stuff like that would just confuse it. Oh, there we go. So I'm moving my mouse left and it goes right. I don't know if it's a viewport thing, but you see how it just won't move where I'm telling it to move? That's why I don't use live meshes too often. It's annoying because it seems to be an issue that's popped up in my 2018 onwards. I never really had this issue in my 2015. It's just suddenly come out of nowhere. Yeah, so I will be tweaking these models quite a lot. I also need to kind of break up the bottom down here because it's all just an intersecting mess. I've tried to fix some intersections on this braid model. Obviously this area, for example, is still kind of screwed, but I can fix that with an inflation, I think. So let's just do something like that. And just inflate it all, or deflate it all, move that around. But yeah, like it's impossible to completely fix it, or at least it's impossible within a reasonable time frame. So I just want to make sure that like these aren't intersecting, for example. I'm going to make sure that that's not intersecting. I may as well do that right now. And then where are you going? Cool. Do something like this. Pull that out a little bit. That way. And I can just grab this guy and pull him in a little bit. It can intersect a little bit. We just want to make sure it's not really obvious, because the moment it becomes hair, it'll be even more obvious, because you'll see the strands. So I'm going to throw a multi-cut there and edit edge loop. Edit edge loop is your friend when you're doing this kind of work. I mean, edit edge loop is your friend all the time anyway, but still. It's like my favourite tool in Maya, I think. What I might do, I might fill these end caps. In fact, no, it's not worth it. Never mind. Ignore what I just said. It was dumb. That is quite a large intersection. And delete both of these and insert an edge loop and then edit edge flow again. There we go. It's fine for these to intersect once they pass the actual scalp. That's perfectly fine, but I just don't want them to intersect before at the root, basically. Because if you don't know how tube grooms work, my general understanding of it, and I might be wrong on this, but my general understanding is XGen automatically generates a region map, basically in every single tube. And that's fine if the tubes are kind of separate from each other, they're not intersecting. But if they intersect at the base, obviously it can't draw overlapping region maps because that's not how region maps work. So it just kind of glitches out. I don't know how it glitches out. I can't remember what behavior it does, but it's best just to not find out, I guess, in this case. And then what I'll do, once I've got all these pretty much in the place where I want them, I'll turn on the reference mesh, and we can just snap all these base verts. This area is actually kind of working okay already. Don't like that though. Let's there we go, that's better. So because I'm moving these without moving my camera, I might be fucking stuff up right now, but I don't think I am. So it wouldn't make much sense for this to like arch like that, because that's not really how braids are. Like, they're pulled relatively tight. But maybe we can do something. Maybe like loosen out the hairs at the root, because we will need to do a little bit of this. We need to do that a little bit. Not a huge amount, but you know, enough so that the hair's not pulling straight back, because that will almost never look good. Dash flow on you. Are you not working? Cool. Let's pull this further back. There we go. Get somewhere like there. I know this is like quite a tedious part, but I think it is quite important to get right. Although, I guess for the sake of the stream, maybe it would be worth me doing this only for a couple more minutes, and then I can do the rest off stream. I'll just work on the grooms in between. So I think the positioning of these guys is okay. It's not perfect, but I'm not going to be changing the actual path for these anymore, I don't think. I'll just be changing the route to them, so maybe I'll avoid working in this area. Let's quickly show this groom actually, because I think I need to rework a few of these sections. Let's check our front cam as well. That's the wrong thing. Ref cam. Yeah, so they match relatively closely. This one's actually a bit too high, which is a good thing, because that gives us a little bit more leeway. This one's too high as well. Alright, so we need to pull these down. Let's grab it here. And then just pull that down a little bit. Grab a little bit more. There we go, something like that. And then it was this guy as well. So I think it's this point here, yeah. So let's just grab a little bit behind it. I'm not entirely sure why I'm grabbing a little bit behind it, but there we go. Obviously I have adjusted the angle of the light. I'll need to change that back. Right, so what are you? Empty. I still need to replace the teeth, gums and tongue, and the caruncles, and the meniscus. I've got so many temp geometries still. Right, so I think we can get started on grooming in between these. I can do the rest later. So before I do that, I'm going to go into my render group. I'm just going to set this back to what it should be, which I believe is 137. Yeah, looks about right. So XGen, I'm going to save my scene. Cool. So just adjusting where everything's placed a little bit. There we go. Right, so let's check the region maps, because that's the first thing we'll need to get right. Yeah, because everything's moved a little bit now, so we're going to need to paint this a little bit more accurately again. So let's start with this light blue. So we need these to be roughly halfway between the braids, vaguely halfway between the braids. Doesn't have to be perfect. That's an issue. I'll need to fix that. And that's an issue too. So let's just do that quickly. Cool. And then let's just go one color at a time. I don't know if I trust the color picker. The color picker is never really 100% accurate. I don't know if it uses like, you know, screen space like conversions or anything. Like, I don't know if it linearizes it or something when you pick it, but well, not linearizes because that'd be a lot more extreme. But like something seems to happen. In fact, let me try color picking this. So let's color pick that, and that is so it seems to have worked. So I've always had issues where it color picks, but it's always like a couple pixel values off. I don't really know why it does that. I still don't really trust it though. Oh, I just realized I need to check stylus pressure. Oh, it's on. Okay. I think I'm fine. If we see any really glitchy areas, then we know what's up. Right, so let's get you. Cool. And we will be noising these up a little bit, like we will be adding a little bit of a variation to them. And what I mean by that is, you know, I don't want a perfectly straight line, I want stuff like that, just so it's not too perfect. If it's not broken up at all, then it's going to look really, really weird. Yellow. That's good enough. So let's save textures. Let's save this. So what am I doing? No, not that. This. Cool. And then there's something I want to do. So I'm gonna. Did I alt this at all? No, I didn't. Cool. So I can ignore that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this. I'm pretty sure there's a way to plug this in. How do you grab a map? Map, and then so I'm just gonna do that, grab this and place you, and then let's just call $A. I think this works. I think. There we go. It's been a really long time since I did that. But it's a really nice little trick for this sort of area. You can literally just put your region map into the guide color. And that should update relatively live as well. I can't remember for sure. I'm just going to close that back door because it seems to be breaking its hinges right now. You can do the same thing for hair color as well, which I might do. In fact, yeah, I'm going to do it. So let's go into guide color, grab that, apply accept, and just plug this into primitive color. What I'm going to do is that. I'm going to call this B, and then I'm just going to call B. Probably should have done that with everyone as well. There we go. That's a little bit hard on the eyes though. There is a blend, but I'm not sure I can be bothered with that. Anyway, that's a little bit intense for my taste actually. So let's just switch that to A. There we go. I think this primitive color adds on top of your shader as well. But yeah, so all this means now is when I place a guide, it will tell me what color, where I should go. So if I place a guide here, it's yellow, so I know it needs to go to this guy, and that will just save me an absolute ton of time. I can even use it to kind of point or to figure out where some of these things should go. So let's start getting this stuff working, I guess. Block length is not necessary right now. And then we need normalize to be visible. Oh. Maybe lock length is needed right now because of the amount of CVs. In fact, no, normalizer can use like a smooth, so I'm just going to do that. Normalize. Let's just do that. Normalize again. 4. Let's just guide that to be generally around here. Something like that would be fine, I guess. For now, at least. So let's copy that guide shape. Put it down here. So he's green. Let's go next to that. Still green. There we go. Can I put one there? There we go. Hey Francisco, how you doing? So let's paste this guide shape. And then it needs to follow this one, I guess. So something like that should be fine. And something I'm going to need to do as well is go into my map, and I need to paint white for this guy for pretty much all the head. For now, let's just stay with the area we're doing. So let's start with the middle. There's no point painting the whole head in, it's just adding like computation time for no reason. Save textures, save this too. Cool. And then all I'm going to do is, we should probably lock that guide group actually. And then XGen, turn it off for a bit. We also need to fix these guys, so let's do that too. Normalize you. Let's grab this guy. Where are you starting? You're starting inside that one, okay. Complicates things a little bit, but that'll be fine. Let's just normalize that. Normalize that again. And let's just do something like this. I'll be using guide comping probably. Cool. And then this guy as well. So that needs to follow along you. I'm unsure as to how well this will work. Like, this is the way I would do it for work, but I'm not sure in XGen, like, you know, should I end this sooner or not? So we'll be learning quite a bit today, I think. What I'm going to do is get the middle section working the way I want, and then once I know that the method works, I can continue. If the method doesn't work, then we'll have to really rethink what we're doing. So let's grab you. So, who do we go for? let's pull you to there, I guess. Normalizer guide. If you're wondering what normalize does, it just redistributes the CVs, and functionally you can kind of use it like a smooth. It will have a very slight smoothing effect. Not much, like that's not what it's designed to do. It's generally pretty good at maintaining shape, but it can be abused, and that's what I like doing to most of the tools anyway. Really forcing them to do what I want. So let's go into our modifiers. I think it's clump 2 that's making that mess. Yeah, it is. So let's just loosen that out a bit. So then, oh, I guess something we didn't do, which we probably should have, is continue to line past into the other half, because really that is important. We need it on both sides. So let's do that. Let's just go vaguely halfway. Doesn't need to be perfect. Chances are I'll get some hairs in the other side, but I'm not too worried about that, to be honest. I'll know when I see them. Save. There is an argument to be made that you should separate these into different grooms, so like one for each braid. Personally, I hate that argument, just because it's so much more work. And really, if I can minimize work, I'm gonna minimize work. Like, I don't care, like, if it's technically the right way to do it. It's more, for me, like, does it benefit the final look and does it make it quicker? Like, obviously, in some cases, you want to make sure you're doing things the right way, but if something, like, makes a scene more complex, I'll tend to avoid it as much as I can. And I think having way more grooms is more complex than just having a few more guides. So that's the path I tend to go down. Granted, there's a lot of much better groomers than me that would say, oh no, it's suicide to not separate this. So, you know, use whatever method works best for you. That's kind of a takeaway for any part of art, I guess, is you want to make sure you're doing the thing that benefits your process the most. How does that work? And what I'll need to do as well is put a row of guides in the middle that just goes straight along. I'm going to work primarily with the middle and this yellow groom. The total number of guides that I'll have for this in the end is going to be disgusting, by the way. Just because you do need hairs to kind of pull back. So I'd need hairs like here, for example, to go that way. So I kind of pull into this. Which the clumping will do a bit for me, but I don't want it to do all the work. I guess technically I should avoid going through that guy, shouldn't I? There we go. What's the right guide to go through here? I guess it's that one. Should probably get my reference up actually. I don't know why I'm doing this without reference. Like, this is the type of hair that I have not done in years, I guess. Let's save this. And let's get some PureRef up. Load, recent, and then I will be dragging this to the other screen just because it's like infinitely easier for me if it's on the right screen. It gives me more real estate on the left. Yes, it's quite loose on her. It's not like tight clumps at all. So this is the stuff I'll be mimicking. But it looks like I'll have to massively reduce the tightness of the clumping. So let's just get that big on the other side. Cool, so let's try turning off this. So that actually looks more accurate, technically. Obviously it doesn't at the front, so we'll have to map that, but well, that's also kind of fine. It's just a case of getting the angle right. How many CVs do I have? 24, that's more than enough. So maybe it's just a case of doing like mass guide clumping. Yeah, this is a very slow process though. If anyone thinks they can do braids quickly, then either you're using Allmatrix or Yeti, or you're lying. Because there's not really a quick way that I'm aware of to do braids. It is just a slow process. Granted, there might be a quick way, but I don't know of it if there is one. Let's go right there. Actually lined up remarkably well. I do need to pull it. Oh, actually, I guess I can go over for this one. Well, should I go over? No, I don't think I should I? Oh, let's pull it under. Let's normalize that. I'm just going to move this over a little bit. That might be the wrong braid that I've pulled it to, but let's delete that. Keep a guide that's further out. This one's really fucking with my mind for some reason. I don't know why. Should it go up like that? Like, is it just one of the ones that has to go back on itself? Normalize, pull back. Normal, oh, no. Normalize. Nice thing about normalize as well is it only acts on the guide you currently got selected. So I want to render that, just out of curiosity to see kind of how much work I'm going to need to do. Let's just turn on this. I think I'll need to pull up the density a fair bit. In fact, as a test, let me just do this. I want to find out how many hairs this contains. So if her whole head, given that she's got black hair, she'll probably have around 110,000, 120,000 hairs. I think that's the general count for black hair. So this top section, I'd imagine, we're going to need some more guides. Let's just put a random guide down there, random guide down there. Just make sure it's generating stuff. Something like that will do. Generate that. Is it generating hair everywhere? Yeah, it is. So I'd expect, like, if it's 110,000, 120,000 for the whole head, then maybe like 50,000 up here. So I'm just making sure that all the groom is generated. There we go. So what is the count? 23,000. Okay, so my density is half of what it should be. Which means my other densities are way off too. So let's go 140. And I also need to paint a density map lower over here. Oh, that looks a lot better. Okay, so that means I'm going to need to increase this as well. Let's go to hair tide. So let's go 140. I can always pull it back later. That looks more correct actually. How many hairs is that? That's 22,000. Wait, really? Yeah, that's 22,000 hairs. Okay, I was way too low in the density. Seeing too much scalp through mine. Alright, cool. So let's go back into not head loose. Head loose we can leave alone, I think. It's just this loose stuff around the sides. I think that's fine. So let's go into braid root. I'm going to repaint that mask because I'm not interested in all the hairs that are outside of that area. Let's just do something like that. And let's just do that, I guess. Cool. And then something similar for you. So my guides are roughly symmetrical. Oh, sorry, my meshes are roughly symmetrical, so I think I'll kind of do one side and then copy it over and tweak where I need to. Because that'll be so much quicker than actually doing it properly on both sides. I will need to make adjustments though. I definitely will need to make adjustments. You can die. 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 And you can die. I'll do. So, I guess you should die too. Why did that affect any of this area? Yeah, so let's get one of these braids sorted. So let's go there. Are you green or are you yellow? You are yellow, good. Right, is there a shortcut for X-ray? Oh, Jesus. Okay, that's struggling. Let's not do that. Oh, it's because of the hair. Of course. So once you get down here, it's literally just a case of pulling it in. Like, it doesn't need to be great at that point. Let's do this, and let's pull him into this guy. let's just shorten that up. Normalize. We don't need to worry too much about guide length in this area. Just because, yeah, it will affect how the clumps look, but there's too much going on for people to notice that. Again, if it's for VFX and like for a really high-end digidouble, like not just any digidouble, like one that's like, I don't know, like the sort of level that goes into like Rachel from Blade Runner, then I'd probably do this properly and actually like thread these along the braids a little bit and make sure the length is somewhat consistent. But in this case, I can get away with not doing that. Because although I want to go pretty high on quality, I don't want to spend months on this groom. I want to spend maybe a month total. Which is still a long time, right? Like, I guess one thing that would be great to address within kind of grooming is the amount of people that just want to throw a groom together, me included most of the time. You know, I'm not above it. But I think it'd be really nice to see like more artists spend a good amount of time on a groom, like a really solid amount of time getting something that just is right. Because it's not that easy to get a very nice groom. So let's use the hair actually as a guide. Let's go with you. Let's go with you. Cool. Quickly adjust that and delete this guy, and let's delete that guy off the bat. Right, it's still a while off, but I'm going to start thinking about what the next project should be. Are there any suggestions, just like what you guys would like to see? Obviously I'm not going to do it if I don't enjoy the concept, but if there's any like type of work that you guys think I should kind of look into, and then if I find a concept that looks really interesting, I can start working on it. That would be really cool. I'd love to hear some opinions on that kind of stuff. Hey, if you were doing this for a client NPC, how long would you complete the project? Are we talking weeks or months? So it depends on the project as well. Like, it's not the amount of time something takes isn't always down to how difficult that asset is. I can't go into massive amounts of details, but like if there's a complex groom but the client has a low budget, and you know, low budget for VFX standards is still pretty fucking mad amounts of money. But let's just, you know, humour me for a second. Let's say it's a fairly low budget film, or a fairly low budget VFX wise. Maybe they've spent all the money on actors. Then maybe for the groom, even if it's quite complex, you'd get, you know, maximum a month. But then you could have a really simple groom that, in theory, you could block out in 2 days, 3 days. In fact, I've had that before where I've had quite high budget grooms and I've spent 1, maybe 2 days actually getting a full block out done and getting everything in place. But then you end up spending 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, however long it takes. And there are assets out there that have gone on for years, not because they're difficult, but because, you know, it's about getting it right for the client. The client's notes are the most important thing on a project. So it's impossible to say. Something like this, if someone was to ask me freelance-wise to do something like this, I'd quote, like if they gave me a model that was already like perfect, I didn't need to make any adjustments, the UVs were exactly as I need, they gave me all the reference I needed, I'd quote about 2 to 3 weeks. Because obviously I'm working full time as well. But like if that gives you a better idea, because I can't really go into production without naming specific assets, and that is career suicide. At least without getting approval from HR, and that is difficult at the best of times. I hope that answered the question. If not, then just say, and I'm happy to kind of talk a little bit more about it. But again, there's not a huge amount I can do in that. It's getting a bit closer. We're going to need to find out how we can close that parting a little bit, because it looks a little bit much at the moment. I also need to find out how you can up-res region maps, because it's currently stepped, but the problem with region maps is there isn't a fucking attribute, there isn't a fucking expression editor. So that's kind of annoying. Let's load expression. Load percentage affected, I guess. Do something like that. And then let's do the same thing for this layer of clumping. Load over. And I'm going to keep the seeds the same, because if I change them, the clumps get tighter again. If I keep the seeds the same, then what I'm saying is a percentage of these hairs don't clump at all, like to anything. You can see them kind of roaming free. I think that will help the look a fair bit. Somewhere like there will work fine. And let's just try rendering that. So I'm gonna alt save. Let's try an angle like this one. Renderman IPR. Leave that to render for a second. That was interesting. I need to get the skin shading back on it, but how much has this helped? So I guess we should start extending this border a little bit. Yeah, let's extend the border. I'm going to just move down this side of the head, and then we just mirror it over to save a little bit of time. So let's just do that. And then about halfway along this guy. That won't be exactly halfway, that's gonna like get some random, oh what's that? Oh, that's just that bread. Shape that back a little bit. Save textures. Is this Xgen? Yeah, this is Xgen. This is Xgen Core specifically. There's two versions of Xgen. In fact, do you guys want me to talk about Xgen Core and Xgen Interactive and kind of what the difference is? Because I'm happy to chat about that sort of stuff. Also, why? So Xgen can't grow hair wherever there's no guide influence. It just refuses to. So I understand this being bold, but why is there a thin strip of hair? Because that would imply that there's guide influence here, but not there, not there, just here. Oh wait, no, that makes sense actually. So that's my line passing slightly over the blue, and the blue is growing further. Right, okay, yes you do. Okay, cool, so the difference between Xgen Core and Xgen Interactive fundamentally is Xgen Core is the tool that Disney built. It was used for Zootopia. Well, let me just check that it's still red. Yeah, it was used for Zootopia. It was, well, that's what it was originally created for anyway. And generally speaking, it's actually quite a stable tool. And I know people that are new to XGen won't really understand me saying that because it's renowned for being absolutely shit. At least that kind of being user-friendly. And to be fair, it's not user-friendly. But if you run the correct pipeline, it's perfectly fine. It'll work. There's absolutely nothing that will break it, really. As long as you're doing everything right. Generally speaking, if something breaks, it's normally your fault. Normally. There are times it does break, but that's the same with any groom tool, to be honest. This has gone too far. So let's repaint my region map. Oh, perfect. It's already yellow. There we go. Something like that is a bit better. And that changes the colour of the guide. Perfect. So let me just... Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted right now. Let me just do that. And... But yeah, so XGen Core is a production-ready grooming tool that was developed by the guys at Disney. I'd argue it's the best grooming tool currently available for one simple reason, which is the expressions. With expressions, you can do whatever the fuck you want. The guides are also really nice. I know that Houdini is probably stronger at this point than XGen, especially with the Groom Bear plugin. But XGen, for me, is the go-to. It's just way more powerful than most other tools. At least in terms of blocking out stuff quickly. If you want to groom fast, then this is a great tool to use. Although, Yeti is also pretty good. XGen Interactive is not XGen, really. It's XGen by name, and that's about it. XGen Interactive is a tool that was built by Autodesk. Why is this? Okay, so... yeah, XGen Interactive is a tool built by Autodesk. And I might be wrong in this, but I'm pretty sure that fundamentally the reason they built it is because they couldn't really develop on XGen Core. People are asking for features that they just couldn't add, mainly because of the way XGen's built. And the main thing people are asking for is sculptable guides, which is a sculptable hair, which for me as a topic, I don't like sculptable hair. What is the Groom Better plugin for Houdini? Groom Bear. So, sorry if my accent was kicking in there. Groom Bear. It's a guide thing primarily, but it's amazing. But yeah, so XGen Interactive, I may be wrong in this, but I'm pretty sure it was developed because Autodesk weren't able to work on top of XGen that they got from Disney. It was just like, too much difficulty with it. It was, proprietary code and all that sort of stuff. So they developed their own version that kind of gave them liberty to kind of make the changes they need to make it more pipeline friendly. Because one of the biggest limitations with XGen Core actually is technically nothing to do with grooming. It's actually one of the biggest limitations is the fact you can't really reference it. If you reference it, it's not overly stable. It's not built to be referenced. It's built to, you make your groom, you do your animation, and then you load the groom into that scene. You don't use XGen through your pipeline. You attach it later. At least, again, all of this is my take. I may be wrong on some of this stuff. It's always best to do your research anyway. But yeah, so XGen Interactive is just Autodesk's own version of XGen, because XGen wasn't developed by them. XGen was kind of taken by them in the end. So XGen Interactive is fundamentally a different system. Fundamentally, it's completely from the ground up. It's a different system. It's only XGen by name. The difference in workflow is quite drastic. XGen Interactive can be referenced in scenes. It is stored in your scene, so when you save a scene file, it saves the XGen curves in the scene, which makes it quite heavy to save. I'll get to Core versus Yeti in a second. But yeah, so XGen Interactive is stored in your scene, which makes it quite heavy, but you can argue it's worth it for the extra stability. But in terms of actual grooming, the pipeline is pretty similar. Because of the fact it's like kind of sculptable hairs, people tend to use it differently. That's kind of where it kicks in for me, is I don't like sculptable hairs. I think it's a great way to encourage bad habits. It's great when used, Weta, their grooming tool, I think it's called Wig now, it used to be called Barbershop. They have sculptable hairs, and being professional groom artists, they use it properly. But I think Autodesk having it in XGen is a little bit of a mistake. That's entirely an opinion thing, though. There'll be so many people who disagree with me on that. People who just be bitching about, well, not bitching about me saying that, but will think I'm bitching too much. Hey, little man, how you doing? But yeah, so fundamentally, XGen Core, XGen Interactive, different systems with mostly the same use. I'd argue that XGen Core is a lot better for creature work, and XGen Interactive is a lot better for digitable work. The only reason I'm not using it right now is because I prefer XGen Core personally, but I think objectively XGen Interactive is a bit better. And the reason for that is if you're matching a digitable, sculptable hairs is very helpful. But I really like expressions. So expressions are something where the difference between core and interactive is pretty important. Interactive doesn't have expressions. In fact, the way you do strays is by generating noises that create random points and using that to kind of mask out what is considered a stray hair. I don't really like that workflow. I don't really like it at all. I prefer an expression. I prefer to be able to write, the tiniest little bit of very simple maths and have it give me exactly what I expected it to give me. That's just the way I prefer. Let's pull that to there. But yeah, in terms of XGen Core versus Yeti, Yeti is a node-based tool. It's, I think, a lot friendlier pipeline-wise. If I was to go into a studio now and they were to say, let's say I was given free reign or something. Let's say they said, okay, we've got to make this groom-based project. What do we use? I would probably say Yeti. And so having Yeti is just, with the stability and pipeline, it's just a lot nicer. You can have expressions in interactive. Oh, can you? How? Tell me these informations and I'll start using interactive. From the node editor. Oh, right. Is there a node that you have to use, or is there an expression node? Or actually an expression node? In which case, why is that not in the UI? That's like one of the most helpful features in XGen. Why would you hide it? But yeah, back to the while I wait for Little Man to reply, the Yeti versus XGen Core thing. For me, the way that XGen handles like names and mesh changes and that sort of stuff is just too awkward for pipeline. Like you so much extra you have to worry about. Whereas with Yeti, it's so much simpler because it's nodes. You just rebuild it on the same object. If topology changes, you should be able to transfer everything without much difficulty, whereas XGen you have to basically rebuild your grooms. You can salvage a lot of stuff obviously, but the fact you have to rebuild so much stuff is massively off-putting to me. You pretty much have a node to add an expression or SE expression, and you can link it to almost anything that uses nodes. So does that use like XGen's, I forgot the name of it, the XGen kind of scripting language, or does it use Mel? So how is groom data stored? Like, I'm going to use Yeti. How do you send that? How do you send that groom to a renderer? So Yeti and rendering is the sore spot. Yeti requires quite a bit of, I think you have to play about with environment variables. which isn't really ideal. Like Yeti and Renderman are quite infamous for not playing together overly nicely. You can get it to work, but I know that it's kind of a bit of a challenge to get to work. I guess that's one of the strengths with XGen is because it's integrated into Maya, most renderers support it out of the box because they have to. It's part of Maya. If the renderer supports Maya, then it's only natural for it to support XGen. There is obviously conversion stuff that has happened behind the scenes, but I'm definitely not an XGen. I'm definitely not an expert on that sort of stuff. I mean, I'm not really an expert in anything, to be honest. I'm just an artist who happens to have worked in Groom. Let me check. But you think it's the XGen thing? Yeah, if it's the XGen expressions, that's really cool. I'll have to check that out in a bit more depth at some point. Let's put a guide right there. Do you export the hair and send it into any renderer, say 3ds, Corona, or Houdini with Mantra? Open an editor and create XGen set expression. Alright, that's cool. I'll look into that. I don't know why it's not in the UI. That seems like a massive thing to not include in the UI. Yeah, thanks for letting me know that. That's really helpful. But yeah, cool. So, in terms of exporting grooms directly into other tools, I don't really recommend it, to be honest. You can write out the hair as a mel file. So I guess you can probably write it out as a mel and convert that into an alembic, which pretty much anything can read. If you go into preview and output, go to render and just set that to mel file, that will export basically Maya curves for every hair, but that's intense, like really intense. You don't really want to be doing that. At least in my opinion, you don't want to be doing that. I'm sure there's programmers out there who would write a tool that will do that for you and kind of automatically convert it, but the whole strength of grooming is that it's procedural, it's incredibly light. I don't think caching out every hair is really a good method. That said, for simulation, maybe it's helpful. Yeah, I've heard that clump guides are there. They're just a bit of a nightmare. To be fair, like, I think with interactive, I am biased against it just because I had a really bad first impression of it. Like, it's just... There's... Clumping, for example, it's just really strange the way it works. Like, I don't like having the non-nested clumping. Like, I know it is technically nested, but in the UI, it doesn't really read very well. And when I first tried interactive, I was still in uni. It was before being a professional, so I am quite biased against it, to be honest. I think it's only fair to kind of admit that. But I don't know. I mean, I'm always biased against sculptable hair. Just because the amount of times I've had people reach out being like, hey, how do I fix this? And they've sculpted themselves into a corner. It's just like, make good guides, and you don't need sculptable you don't need sculptable hairs. Sculptable hairs is something for me where I'd use it as tweaking. I'd block out a groom as far as I can with guides, and then maybe I'd go in and maybe I'd go in and do a little bit of sculpting to kind of fix. But Yeti, is it a standalone program? So it is standalone, kinda. It's a plugin for Maya. You can probably get it for other stuff as well. Let me search. Yeti. I'm pretty sure it's for Maya exclusively. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. Yeah, it's by Peregrine Labs. They make some really nice stuff. Bokeh is also, or Bokeh, or however people like to call it. Yeah, I think it's Maya only. It seems like it's Maya only. But it's a really nice tool. I really like Yeti a lot. I do hopefully want to work with them at some point. There was a point actually where I was in like kind of email contact with them saying, oh, you know, if you guys give me a free license, I'll make some free tutorials for the community. And then around that same time, my laptop was starting to break, so I didn't have a workstation for a while. That was like almost a year ago now, so that ship has long sailed. But I do really like Yeti. I've worked with it in university. It's quite nice. I've not run it through a project like full pipeline, but I have, like, you know, I've done simulation with it. I've done model transfers with it. It's pretty nice. I like it a lot. It's one of my favorite groom tools. XGen Core is still currently my favorite, but well, technically my favorite is NPC's groom tool. I really like that tool. It's called Fertility. There's not much public information on it, so I'm not going to talk about the workflow with it, but I do really like Fertility. It's a very nice tool. So I guess we can get rid of all this stuff, and I'm going to mirror this at an early stage. Let's mirror that. How well does it work? Ooh, not perfect. Oh, the undos are broken. Okay, when was the last time I saved? 21. Ah, okay. So I accidentally just scrapped a bunch of my work. Okay, so it looks like we're going to have to work asymmetrically as well. Not ideal, let's be honest. One of the most annoying things in Maya right now for me is that it doesn't mirror. Oh, that's so annoying. Alright, so let's start. Actually, it's kind of tricky. At first I kind of hated it, but after a while we found a killer workflow. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those tools. I'm sure it works great. I don't think it's overly friendly for creature work. But yeah, do you use Redshift at work? I do not. NPC's pretty public about using RenderMan. So that's what it's one of the many reasons I like to use it for personal projects, is because it's what I'm used to. It's a very, very nice tool. RenderMan is by far my favorite renderer, although for me V-Ray is a very close second, and then Redshift. I'm a bit of a V-Ray bitch though, to be fair. Like, V-Ray is my first proper renderer that I really dived into and like tried to learn, you know, how does this work, like, you know, how do samples work, how do you balance AA samples versus higher balance like diffuse samples and all that jazz. Are you familiar with Houdini, 3ds Max, Cinema, or Blender, Clarice? So Houdini I use a fair amount. Like, not for a huge amount of stuff. Like, I use it primarily for modeling. I don't use it at home particularly though. 3ds Max I've experimented with in the past, but that was years ago. To be honest, like, years ago I wanted to be a games artist. I really wanted to work for like Blizzard or that sort of place, or an actual game studio. When I say Blizzard, I mean like the cinematics guys. Obviously they are game studio as well, but I've always wanted to work games, so I did learn 3ds Max like near the beginning, and then I kind of realized I wanted to go into VFX. Although if a game studio was to message me tomorrow and be like, if Blizzard was to reach out tomorrow and be like, hey, do you want to work on a cinematic team, then I will jump. But it's kind of like, it would require one hell of an offer, to be fair. What's it saying? Although, to be fair, I think anyone would really jump for, like, if they get like a studio that's like that top tier, you know, the ones that have insanely good reputations for the level of work. I think pretty much anyone would jump for that sort of stuff. So I guess I'm not really special on that, but depends where I am, to be honest, how happy I am. But either way, I need that guide to be closer. There we go. But yeah, what was I saying? In terms of Cinema 4D, I opened it once, wasn't too keen on it. I mean, I feel like Cinema 4D, like, the price is a good advantage, but other than that, I don't really see much reason to use it. And then Blender, I've played about with Blender a few times, and I'll continue to play about with Blender until it makes itself industry ready. There's still a few features that it's sorely missing, but once it's got those, I'll be pretty happy to pick it up. And Clarice, no, I've not used that yet. Have you seen the Watch Dogs cinematic trailer? Yes, I have, and it looks amazing. I get a lot of Love, Death, Robots vibes. It does just feel like Love, Death, and Robots, but it is really, really cool. The art style is incredible. Kind of making this area a little bit chaotic. I want it to feel like the braids aren't perfectly made. And there's a little bit of stuff getting mixed up. Let's pull that to this guy actually. And then I guess we're going to have to pull it under, so have it quite tight. I'm going to rush through this to some extent to get everything in place. Because with this sort of grooming, I really like to just get the basics there and then spend time refining it. Yeah, I'm currently going over all the license stuff because I'm soon going to be out of uni and we'll need to purchase all this stuff. Yeah, I mean, if you just want something that works and is cheap, I don't think you can really go that far wrong with Blender. Like it's by no means industry ready, but if you just want to practice the general skills, it's fine. It will work. If you want to get something that is industry ready, Houdini is probably your best bet. Value for money wise, I don't think you can really beat it. It's £300 a year, which currently is the same as Maya Indie, but Maya Indie is literally 1 year and then you're done. So after a year, because I bought this license like I think like 2 months ago now, maybe even 3 months ago. Once a year is expired, I won't be continuing with Maya unless they continue the indie license. It's too expensive. It's not worth it for me. I'm not making really any money freelance. I literally I've done one job recently. But yeah, so I wouldn't really recommend Maya for that reason. If they continue the indie license, then fuck it. Yeah, I'm gonna keep staying with it, but they're not continuing it at the moment, so it's pretty sad. Oh, did you get to work on it, man? Little man. Did you work on the Watch Dogs trailer? If so, congrats. That's really incredible work. Autodesk is going to bring indie license to 3ds Max and Maya next year, but I'm super low level. Cinema is 4K. Ouch, but perpetual. I wouldn't buy Cinema for 4K, even if it is perpetual. Cinema's still pretty popular for like kind of graphic design type stuff, but it's not. 4K is too much. And yeah, they're not killing indie. It's more that currently you can buy it once, it lasts a year, and then you can't buy it again. So the first people that bought indie, it came out over a year ago now, so the first people that bought indie will already have had it removed, and they'll have to pay the full price, which is $1.5 grand. Or $300 a month if you want to go monthly, which is that's too much money. Like, I don't care who Autodesk think they are, that's way too much money. Like, if they want people to move to their competitors, that's a fantastic way to do it. Me, for example, like, the moment my Maya license dies, unless I've got freelance rolling in and I'm like easily making money back, I'm not going to continue to pay, you know, £300 a month. It's just too much money. Houdini at £300 a year perpetually, as in like they're not changing that for any time coming, is a way better deal. I'd just switch to Houdini because it can do everything that Maya can, and in many ways it's better. So. Granted, all of this is an opinion. There'll be many people who are like, no, Maya's a steal for £300 a month, but I guess that's people who are earning money from it. I'm not really earning money from it. Like, my personal license anyway. Obviously, I earn money from Maya at work, but that's to be expected. But in terms of, you know, the license I've paid for, I made the money back from Indie, but that's only 300 quid. That's easy to make back in a year. But yeah, I've not had anywhere near enough freelance to make the full license worth it. I'd be operating at a loss right now because of the one Maya license, let alone rent and all that stuff. 400 for 2 years. That. No, I was doing another project, but anyway, it was having a great team that told us, that's good, man. That's the thing, like sometimes when you're in a studio, and there's some people that are just so talented, like you just learn everything from just being near them. Like there's some people I've worked with at NPC where I'm just like, I will never have the level of knowledge you have, but just being near them was enough for me to learn. Hell, like for example, the head of the department, Dave, like he's like his grooming knowledge is insane. He's also too humble. Like he's really good, but he's too humble. But it's like having people like him around, like you learn just so much stuff. That's one of the cases for like working at major studios. Like, although, you know, obviously major studios like NPC, like DNEG, like ILM, all those are known for, you know, the crunch can be a bit more extreme than at smaller studios sometimes. Obviously there are small studios that fuck you over as well. But I think the case to be made to work at a major studio, whether it's, you know, a major animation studio like Disney or a major film studio like NPC, is there are people there who have been doing that job for 14, 15, 16, 20 years even in some cases. And the amount you can learn from those people is just intense. Like, really, really intense. There we go. Right, I guess we just continue moving down. Oh, Houdini for 24 months is even less. It's 355 euros. Jesus Christ. Yeah, Houdini is just like, they are very, very clearly going for Maya. Like, they really are, because that pricing, like, if I wasn't paying for indie right now, I'd probably make the switch. Like, that's just insane. I need to put a guide right there. Yeah, there's no way they're not gunning for Maya with that pricing. Although, to be fair, I feel like Houdini is in a spot right now where it probably can replace Maya for many, many tasks. Animation, not quite. But, and obviously as a direct result rigging, like you need to be able to rig in the same software you animate, really. But, yeah, I think the case for not adapting to Houdini is getting smaller and smaller with each passing day. I started learning it a while ago for previs, just because it's so fucking helpful for, like, if you need to do environment work. I don't think you can get better than Houdini, because you can use like procedural look dev workflows to make geometries, which I guess technically you can do in Maya with displacement, but not really. If you want true geometry, which you can then retopologize automatically and all that sort of stuff, then Houdini just wins. And that's primarily what I did with it, is like environment work. Like if you need a mountain range and you need it tomorrow, and you need it with nice UVs and good enough topology for, well, for previs anyway, then yeah, sure, 2 days, fuck it, why not? I have enjoyed working with Houdini actually. As time's gone on, I have been working with it more and more. I used to resist it quite a lot, but now that I was kind of forced to in work, it's so fucking good. Alright, so let's extend the I need to save. And let's extend that hair a little bit. So yeah, for now I'm just going to do like super basic guys like this, and then later on I'll do the kind of pulling effects that it has. So like in this, you can't see it here, for example, like here it looks pretty smooth, so that will be good, but then on this side it's like quite tightly pulled in. So I'll have to mimic that with a lot of guide work, or guide clumping. We'll see on that. I'm not 100% set on which one I want to use. Oh yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it was pretty funny. So Carol Baskin, she was tricked into wishing Rolf Harris and Jimmy Savile happy birthday today. That was an interesting event that I didn't expect to see on my Facebook feed. It was kind of cute in a way, because she looked so like wholehearted about it. She just had no idea who she was talking about. Carol Baskin, you know Tiger King? Is in a Netflix show. Would you look who it is?
Look what the cat fucking dragged it.
Funny you mentioned cat. I was literally just talking about Carol Baskin. Not joking. I was bringing up the fact that she got tricked into wishing happy birthday to Jimmy Savile.
Hate him.
Oh no.
If anyone's experiencing weird noises, it's because Mike is weird.
I mean, that's not.
Lick me on a live stream. What the hell?
I didn't try to lick you on a live stream. What are you on about?
Weirdo.
Do that off stream. If I'm gonna be weird, I'm not gonna do it in a public forum.
I mean,
Shut up.
you're already hella weird, my dude.
Oh yeah, I am hella weird. I don't care. Oscar doesn't know who Carol Baskin is.
Oscar.
I can't help but say, Oscar, I'm very disappointed in you.
Get Netflix. Or if you don't have Netflix, get a VPN. And we will let you sign into our Netflix.
Legally, we didn't say that.
I'm joking. Whatchamacallit? No, I think it's on Global. Netflix is the Netflix original.
I'm pretty sure it is on Global, yeah.
So, in Florida, the state that it is.
Oh yeah, are you about to?
I'm just going to give a summary. In Florida, there's loads of like cat rescue, like big cat rescue places, they call themselves. And it's like you can go and like sit with tigers and like feed the baby ones. But this guy called Joe Exotic, he's currently in jail, so this was shot like 4 or 5 years ago. He used to own one of these places in America, and it was like, he's really bling. He's married, he's like a polygamous gay man, he's married like 2 men. Everyone in the place is odd. It's like, it's kind of cool though, because like the people that work for him have had like bad lives, you know, like a lot of them are maybe drug involved, or they've had like not great upbringings, and they work with him, so he doesn't look at their CV sort of thing.
He rehabilitates them and then turns them gay with meth.
Oh yeah, and then gives them meth. So one of his
Oh yeah, that.
But one of his employees got his arm ripped off, and then but still proceeded to work for him with their arm ripped off. So it was weird, but there was a whole big thing. It was like another person who does all this big cat stuff bought the sanctuary. Carol Baskin was like an actual sanctuary in Florida that like owned and like operated like property, you know, like you don't touch the animals, you know, they really rehabilitate like circus animals, blah blah. And her husband mysteriously went missing many a year ago, and the whole joke is, and I think in the like in one of the people in the series is like a sardine oil. Like if you were getting rid of a body, you would dip it in sardine oil and feed it to the cats. So her husband's still missing, and they actually reopened this investigation because of the series.
So
everyone
funny.
thinks she killed her husband because he was actually very involved. He was a bit like Joe Exotic, where he wanted to have more like not really a sanctuary, more of like a theme park for the animals kind of thing, what Joe would do. But yeah, so Joe would like openly threaten her in like.
Oh, they can barely hear you.
What? I've been telling you this entire story.
No, they can hear you, but barely. So just speak up. Or
Yeah.
stand in front of the
Oh,
microphone.
I'm gonna do that as well.
Because it's
It's like
directional.
a history lesson. I love this.
This microphone is directional because it's like expensive and shit.
I'm here, Oscar. No, so yeah, so she's, I think she owns. No, I think she's managed to successfully buy over Joe Exotic's estate now, Carol Baskin, by law, because he's in jail. He went to jail for like. It was more animal charges. I think they found like 5 dead tiger carcasses on his premises because they weren't like vets. They were putting down the animals, which is illegal to do. They have to have a legal vet put them down. So it was like animals who were maybe like past their sell by date, or some who were like lame.
Past the sell by date.
Literally is what it was
Oof.
described as in the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, hard for me to hear. Not a native. Florida is the best. And don't start.
One of my favourite things is if you Google Florida man, then your date of birth, and just find out who your star sign of a Florida man is.
Do you want to know something fun about Florida? Yesterday, Florida accounted for 8% of the entire world as we know its population of corona cases.
Of course it did.
8%.
Because over in America,
Disney is open.
no, over in America, coronavirus is a political opinion somehow.
My God.
How did that happen? How did the coronavirus become a political opinion in the country?
Oh jeez, it's freaking nuts, man.
Also, don't get in people's freedoms and liberties by putting a cloth mask on their face.
It's like, you can't stop me with your oxygen.
It's like, I can't breathe. It's like, fuck off. I wore a mask for hours the other day. Like, it's fine.
I need to actually buy it. We have like the.
And I
the
had
medical
childhood
ones.
asthma. Like, if anyone, like, you know, it's not exactly like current asthma, but it still is like.
You sometimes forget to breathe.
I sometimes do struggle to breathe just randomly. So, like, if anyone could complain about wearing a mask, then I'd be among that crowd.
Hi, little man. I'm good. I'm trying to learn Blender. I'm
Little man.
finally getting the hand of it.
Little man taught me something really important today.
What?
Extra Interactive, you can do expressions.
Oh, there you go.
But it's a node, and it doesn't
that's kinda
tell
cool.
you.
Sounds like extra
Yeah, it's just a node.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, called set expression.
Interesting people. Francisco, it's very interesting. I feel like I could write an autobiography on the stuff I find on Netflix.
That's not an autobiography.
A biography?
There you go.
There we go. I also should probably read a dictionary.
Autobiography is when you write one about yourself.
Are you quite keen on... I don't know what the question is. I'm not that smart.
Don't start. Wait, the end one?
Yeah.
Are you quite keen on pure economy to...
What's that?
What, keen?
No, pure economy.
How is England doing? I'm not sure what you mean by pure economy.
I can tell you how Northern Ireland's doing, because that's where I reside.
Well, you live in London, but...
From where I'm from, there hasn't been that many cases, and the ones that have been in like care homes. I think last week it was like they had a full nearly 2-week gap of not having any cases of
Coronavirus.
I'm back over here now, so if you can't hear me talk.
Basically, if you can see green on this when you speak, that's good. If you occasionally see flashes of yellow, then your voice will be coming out quite strong. So just look at that when you're talking.
Hello. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, but you weren't talking like that earlier.
Sorry, I just... Carol Baskin.
Don't blame Carol for your failings.
Damn Carol Baskin.
That damn bitch. I say all this as if I've watched the show.
What is this?
I need to watch the show at some point.
I get so many emails.
I don't. Don't talk about the email.
That was a risky joke, Michael.
It wasn't a risky joke because no one knows what email I'm talking about.
Ooh. My university is doing semester 1 for like the students starting back is all going to be online.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Must be because of the way they just don't want to cause you anything.
What? You mean a coronavirus outbreak?
Also, KFC slashes cost of its bonus bucket in half.
I'm getting one tomorrow.
10 bonus mini floats for £4.99.
What?
Yeah.
Do you want a KFC right now? If you run out for me, I'll pay you. In love and affection. Because I'm fucking broke, my dude. Is my love and affection not worth it to you, Becca? The silence answers for itself, I guess.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm too busy reading all the internet grammar.
Becca's ignoring me again.
Oh my god.
What?
There's a common misconception that bisexual women are attracted to women and men. This is false. Bisexual women are attracted to women and a man.
Don't look at me like that.
You are the man.
I am the man.
Michael sexual. What?
That's a title people don't willingly give themselves, Becca.
Please put that on your title of your video, like it's clickbait, like I am Michael sexual is gonna.
But it's not my. That's not my sexuality. I'm not
Well,
Michael sexual.
Did you not just hear the
I'm
voice
straight.
that
Like.
It is clickbait.
But no. Like, I may love myself, but it's not my sexuality. Just kidding. I'm a millennial. I hate myself. At least that's what being a millennial tells me to do, anyway, right?
I mean, you're kind of the one wearing the pink wrap bathrobe right now.
I am wearing a pink bathrobe right now. Don't you dare diss it. Don't be jealous of the pink bathrobe. Accept the pink bathrobe.
To describe the pink bathrobe, I got it for him before. Was it your birthday?
To describe the pink bathrobe, it's a bathrobe, which is pink,
I'm
Becca.
gonna describe it more.
It's fluffy,
No,
but not
it's
overly
not
fluffy. It's not like soft fluffy. It's like that
For
kind
Michael's-
of coarse fluffy.
For Michael's birthday, I was like, what will I get him? I was like, I know. Something that he needs to get replaced. So his bathrobe, his old one used to leave little balls of black fluff all over the room. So I was like, right, it's getting bin. And it stank because it wouldn't dry because it was so heavy. So I went online and googled pink bathrobe spa edition.
Spa? Is that
Yeah.
seriously what you said?
Yeah.
Spa edition?
Because they're spa bathrooms, that's why it's so long and really one size fits all, really, because there's a lot of material on it.
One size fits all is very helpful for me because I like to fluctuate my size. You were saying? A couple of days ago, I watched Boris Johnson in Parliament. They had a live stream about what changes they will make. The parties were arguing back and forth. Mr. Speaker, it was nice to hear. It was nice to see even. So lowering VAT from 20 to 5%, giving out coupons for people who... Oh, that's really cool.
Oh yeah, but Ireland...
Lowering VAT from 20% to 5%? I think it's time for me to buy a guitar.
No, listen. Do you know what Ireland got though? And this really annoys me.
As in Republic of Ireland?
The Republic of Ireland. They got €500 in shopping voucher. And we didn't.
No, life is
Your
so
dual
difficult.
nationality doesn't work like that.
Hey, I've got like an Irish passport. Can I have like all the VAT off, please?
I love that. It's the one time that Belfast doesn't get to use the double-edged sword of
Dual nationality.
dual nationality.
You're really struggling with that sentence, weren't you?
Busy.
Busy.
I'm busy for your bullshit.
Oof. That was a burn, I guess.
So, you know what I'm gonna say.
What?
Is that really bad?
What? What do you say?
What? What? Sorry, everything just went wrong.
What do you say?
Is that what you asked?
That what my dad said. No, my dad didn't say anything. It just disappeared. Everyone. I've gotten so open about that shit now. There are people who like watch these streams for the first time. Like, there'll be someone out there who watches this stream as the first stream they've ever seen, and like I'm just casually making a dad abandon me joke.
It's the only kind of jokes.
The only kind of good jokes for me.
I don't like.
If the joke doesn't contain abandonment issues, I don't like it.
What was that word?
Abandonment. I got there eventually. Leave me alone. I didn't have a father figure to teach me how to say that word. If my mum ever watches these streams, she will absolutely hate me.
She thinks I'm such a like Michael.
Michael.
I feel like there's a day when I go to say your name and I will accidentally say Michael in front of your mum, but in the way she says it, and everyone will look at me and I'm like,
I wasn't mocking your accent.
it's just so fun to say because I'm so used to such a fast pace. You know, like the way I speak.
You mean, like,
Gobbledygook.
yes.
Have you ever heard the...
I couldn't even describe it.
There was a really shitty video that went around in the 2000s about my accent, and it was like these two little, like, they looked like potatoes and they were drawn on the screen. They were like little stickman potatoes. They were Irish, but they were talking about our accent, and it was like, oh, they all sound like this. And that is literally what we sound like.
Can confirm.
It's like everybody's calling everyone Bufta. Right, Bufta! It's like,
What does that word even mean?
Bufta before my life.
What does that word even
It's
mean?
really offensive, but I understand it. I'm sorry.
You should probably Google it if you don't know what it means. Comedians, comedy acts probably aren't the best place to learn a language. Although if they actually, coming back to what Oscar just said, if they actually do lower VAT from 20% to 5%, I'm buying the guitar. I don't care what anyone says.
I'm not gonna be here anyway, so.
Well, it's because that 15% when you're spending, you know, a few grand is a good amount of money. Like, not an ignorable amount of money. And if I'm going to be buying a guitar in the next like year or so anyway, I may as well do it when there's a massive discount. Just run over to Guitar Guitar. It's like, give me your finest PRS, sir. I'll take it. I'm currently double checking. Oh, don't worry if they're not actually doing the VAT thing, because we've had the British government like kind of back down on quite a lot of things in the last few years. It wouldn't surprise me if they change. I don't overly trust this government, to be honest, in what they say and do. I think ever since Brexit I've been really bitter about politics in the UK. Just because the amount of lies that are on like both sides, to be honest. Don't trust anything that politicians say anymore.
Isn't that like the generic response?
What? Don't trust politicians? Yeah, but I kind of learned it for myself when I saw the amount of lies at Brexit. Like, I mean, obviously the 350 million NHS bus is the biggest example. They could really do without 350 million right now. What was it, a week that they said?
Oh yeah. I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, wait a second. There we go, that's better. Getting there. Hey, Becca. Thanks.
Oh, that's cool, actually. I like the bits in between.
That's the point. That's what I'm working
I
on.
think we were working on the weird grey plots, and I was like, they look as grey as they did yesterday.
No, that's geometry still. I'm figuring out how to do the meshes before that, and then I'm gonna grab a drink because I'm thirsty, like really thirsty.
Do it.
That's me. See?
Ah!
I still don't have a cookie.
Oh, of course, I made them for you.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
You don't mind?
Not all of them, I would like some too.
Cool. Looking cool.
It's a yummy. Just finishing off with this Geo. It's like I know if I hadn't been doing this with Maya, it would have been so much quicker, but it's like, I'm trying to learn this.
It's helpful to learn tools from time to time.
For anyone not listening or not caring, I'm using a blender.
Becca's been learning Blender for a little while. She's getting pretty decent with it now.
Heath.
Right, so
I also feel like my
auto carrot.
auto carrot. No, my auto like shortcuts that came with this version that I'm using.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's like, oh, I can't delete edges. I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, oh, it messes up the mesh. I'm like, oh right. And they're like, oh, I found this specific shortcut. I'm like, why do you just hit Control Delete? Because it seems to work on mine.
I gotta turn the light around again. -90, I think, was the number. we're going to have so much work to do.
Mm-hmm.
The partings are really wide. I don't know why they're so wide. Like, technically increasing the density will get rid of that to an extent, but I don't want to use unnatural densities just to get rid of some wide partings.
Oh yeah, I agree.
There's a trick you can do with guides, which is like bend the root of the guide the wrong way, which kind of like has the visual effect of moving the hairs backwards so they can cross over the parting line. But I don't really want to do that either. The hair's too thick. This braid bunch at the back is losing a lot of its structure. I'm going to need to fix that too. So much to fix. So little fucks to be given. Right, so back to action, back to guides. I guess we should just extend this down. I'll have to fix this stuff at some point. So let's go into primitives, go into the mask, and let's just paint that to white. Cool. Yeah, I just rendered by pressing G. I did. Fuck off. Right. I need to pull the densities of these forward, I think. Unless I do hair loose at the hairline. That's also an option. The hairline currently looks like way too perfect. And not perfect in a human way, perfect in a really bad CG way. I think the hairs might be too thick. Just a little bit. I'm going to reduce that width just a tiny bit. Let's go 0.8 instead of 0.01. It's a little bit too thin looking now, so let's put that back up. Wait. For some reason I typed 5. Alright, that looks a little bit better. So let's go to loose and put width more 0.8. And I guess tide 0.8. Why is it going to 0.5 each time? Back to loose. Why is it doing that every time? It's so weird. Now I feel a little bit nicer. A little bit softer, a little bit more see-through. But in like an appealing way. That might have been the wrong move, we'll see. To me that looks more appealing. Anyway, let's get back on with guides. Braid root. Super cool to see how far this has come, especially considering how you found inspiration to start a project during your previous project. Yeah, it's kind of weird how that happened, right? So I literally had absolutely no clue who this person is. Like when I started, well, not when I started the project, I'd say researched it before I started it, but I had no idea who FKA twigs was before I searched for twig reference. So, yeah. Super weird how that happened. And on that topic of finding inspiration, I think I mentioned this earlier in the stream, I am starting to figure out, well, I'm starting to try to figure out what I want to do for the next project. So if you guys have anything you'd like to see, or anything you'd like me to look into, because I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, whatever you guys suggest I'll do, because I need to do a project that I feel passionate about. But if you say, oh, it'd be really nice to see some hard surface stuff, then maybe I can try to think of a project that'd be really fun and include hard surface. Or if you wanted to see like some more creature-based work.
Kid with a backpack.
A nerdy kid with a backpack. Yeah, there's a backpack me and Becca saw on the weekend that I really want to make, but we'll see. Now that I've bought Marvelous Designer, I really want to do something with cloth, but we'll see kind of what comes first. Because I don't want to just force Marvelous Designer into all my projects now. Like, that's not the point of buying it. The point of buying it is having that whenever I need it now. I don't even know what it was that attracted me to this picture so much, like the one that I'm currently trying to make. Because it's a really cool picture, but like it really grabbed me. Like it was literally just like, I need to do this as my next project. It wasn't really a choice. It was like, if I don't do this project, i.e. the FKA twigs one, if I don't do this, then I don't know what I'm doing with my artistic career. So I've not done enough guides yet, but let's just see how that looks. Yeah, so we need a little bit more stuff. Let's go there. Just start playing out with some of these. So we've blocked out one side. Let's see how that looks. I also just remembered I need to update my playlist for this series. So I'm pretty sure I haven't updated the playlist for this Digi double since like episode 14 or something. It's looking interesting. Let's just turn off this because I can't move the cameras while it's on, annoyingly. Do like that view. Now it's going to the toilet. Back in 1 second, guys. In fact, actually, if I'm going to be back in 1 second, I may as well kick off a proper render. Right, I'll be back in a moment, guys. Would you like some Coke? Okay. Like some Coke? There we go. That's not looking too bad. Doesn't feel natural in the slightest, but I think the thing that's stopping it from feeling natural actually isn't because of this groom. It's because of this. That doesn't make much sense, the fact it's travelling next to it. It should drop a bit more, I think. Which could make sense. Alright, yeah, we'll have to do that. Drop the groom at the sides. Have it come back up. Because that doesn't make much sense at all. I'm going to do that now. It's annoying because I like this general shape, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm not going to force it. I'm going to do those paths though. Have you ever groomed a furry insect like a bee or a tarantula? I have, but I can't remember what it was.
Like.
What? Say the word?
Spider?
Spider? I don't think I've groomed a spider. Yeah, I don't think I've groomed a spider. I don't think I have. Pretty sure I worked on an ant at one point. I can't remember exactly. I know I've worked on... Like, it was for Lion King, I think. I worked on one of the small insects, because I didn't do much on Lion King. I was much busier on different projects at the time. Yeah, I'm not sure. Right, let's go to head loose. Oh, it's not loose. Why do I keep going to loose? It's tied. Well, I guess it did start its life as fur loose, so it makes some sense. Oh, I just did that thing again where I hit G instead of G for render instead of G for sculpt tool. Let's give this some time to think about its life choices. There we go. That's actually shockingly quick. No, because it's not done yet. That would make sense. perhaps a hyper-realistic spider or a fly. Could be interesting. It's not something I'm like immediately feeling.
But don't just do like a hyper-realistic fly or bee. Make it freaking cool. Like, do like Barry the Bee Benson, but like model like an actual realistic version of him.
Not sure what I do a creature, to be honest.
You never do creatures.
Because I prefer
I
characters.
know, but then the comfort zone thing, Miguel.
Yeah, this pushed my comfort zone.
Push it again.
Yeah, I will, by doing something that's like also a character but develops it further. What?
Backpack. Show them the backpack.
Sure.
So I want Mike to do a cute kid character, like an animation style, but I want him to do like a little nerdy kid, or he has like the kid has like cool stuff. So we saw this at the Disney store, and I was like, please make this.
One second, I'm trying to. This boy.
Look at him.
That'd be really cool to make. That'd be a lot of fun to make, I think.
Plus you got that marvelous designer going on.
Yeah, although if I'm gonna use Marvelous Design, this isn't exactly ideal to use it on. Like you could,
We'll do the
but
clothes.
it's leather, so it's just like it's not the most creased. Oh, do Johnny Depp? Oh hell no! Oh hell no! Pirates of the Caribbean, full digitable of that. That could be really cool. Oh, I said literally Pirates of the Caribbean as you typed it. It's kind of funny. That could be a fun one. I guess like there's a fair bit to do with the Marvelous Designer. Right. So head tied. Let's turn head tied. That's something you can't say quickly, I think. Oh, I just did it again. I need to stop pressing G before I've actually selected the guide tool. Literally 2 minutes of this stream are just me waiting on this. Oh, can you please talk about Marvelous Designer? Yeah, it's fucking expensive. And I was forced into buying it, kind of, because they're getting rid of the license. I'm fighting with which license to purchase. How do you mean which license to purchase? Do you mean perpetual, or do you mean monthly and that sort of stuff? Or do you mean commercial versus personal? Right, let me select this time. That's going to be a lot more natural, I think. Let's try viewing it. Obviously it's only the one guide, but yeah, that's going to feel a lot more natural. Alright, cool. So I need to do the same for you. Just droop you way down. Now I need to do some considerable cleanup for this, actually. You as well. Something's wrong with these guides right now. Not that, so you said earlier that extra interactive is not great for creatures. Not that I disagree, but want to know where you're coming from. Basically, where I'm coming from on that is that my primary reason, to be honest, is because my friend Jesus, he had to do the official like creature demo for extra interactive, and he said like the general experience of it was just hateful. Obviously, the thing is with interactive is, when I talk about it not being great or something, I mean because like the exclusive ways that it can do it. So you can work in a similar way to the way you do with Action Core, but if you use the interactive, chances are you're not going to work it that way. So like the sculptable guides, if you want to use that for creature work, is just awful. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. Is like the features that are exclusive to interactive and the reasons you'd want to use it are not really great. And I think the whole thing of it being like storing the description in scene, that would be quite heavy with something like a creature. It's just more stuff to store. I need to test it out fully because it's been, as I said, like a long time since I properly tested it out. But fundamentally, it's just that the workflow that interactive encourages is not ideal for short fur anyway. Again, it's definitely a bias thing. It's not. It's bad at it. It's just that I don't like it. And I want to make sure I'm quite clear on that. Is like normally when I say I don't like something, it's because I don't like it. It's not because it's bad. Every tool is good at something, except soft emerge. I'm going to trigger so many people with that sentence. Because it is actually good at some stuff. Should I hang this more? I think I should. So I need to do a bit more kind of hair for the braids, I think. That will feel a bit more natural now because it's actually hanging. Did it crash? I think it crashed. Oh no, it's working. Right, I'm going to save my scene. What has happened here? Guides are not associated. What are you on about? Right. Let's brute force this out. Utilities. Guides to curves. Delete. Create. Hello. Ooh, a new one.
What?
New bug. Test guides. So I went with, as you know, I went with buying a perpetual directly from them, so I have the chance to upgrade later. Steam is cheaper. But yeah, I just wanted the future upgradability because I know what will happen. I'll buy perpetual, and then they'll release like an amazing like tool in the next one, like maybe a proper retopology tool. I know it's got the retopo in there, but it's just overlaying a grid over the 2D pattern. I need to figure out what this is because this is new to me. Damn it, guy's not been associated. I'm curious which version am I using. Right. How can I do this, or where can I actually get it back in? How long ago was my most recent save? It had already broken at that point though, right? Let's try opening the earlier one. Log, clear. Right, working this time. Let's get all the other rooms visible. Right, and I'm going to save over the scene where it broke. Don't know what broke it. Uh, 90 million hairs too much for a furry animal like a giraffe? Yes. Yes, that is too many hairs. For a giraffe, God, what number would you be playing with? I wouldn't go higher than 8 million. Personally. Like, the thing is, with animals like that, like, obviously they've got a large surface area, but they tend to have quite thick, bristly hairs as well. They don't really have thin hair. So, yeah, be careful with using insane counts like that. 90 million is way too much. Like, without a shadow of a doubt. I don't know specifically about giraffes, but 90 million is definitely too much. The high, if this is good context, the highest count I've ever used in work was, I think it was 12 million. And that was for something that isn't real. Like, you had to, like, really push it to get a certain shape. In fact, no, 12 million, that's inaccurate. That isn't the one I did. I think my record is, like, 8 million. So it's just like, if that gives you a little bit more context as to how mad 90 million is. And that's for VFX, that's for NPC. Granted, there are assets out there that have 90 million hairs, but nothing like realistic on a creature would have a count like that. So let's droop all these down. You know somewhere where I can find this kind of info? Off the top of my head, no. What I recommend doing, my general approach to this sort of stuff is I'll find macro photography of one section of the animal. So you can probably find out there somewhere like a 10 megapixel image of a giraffe's face or like part of a giraffe's neck. You find that and you don't match the density, you match the width. Once you've matched the width, you can use that to infer the density. Because you just look for the general coverage level that you've got and match that. And if you've got the correct width, the correct density is required to match the coverage. That's my general approach. It's not very scientific, but it works. And it works really well. Granted, for some animals, the fur count is known. Like, you can probably find out how many hairs they have per square inch. But that information is more than likely out there somewhere. Hey, you could probably even email the zoo and be like, hey, do you have any wildlife experts who could tell me how many hairs they would have? Or what the density of their hair is? How many hairs for Simba? That is proprietary information, my dude. I'm saying I can never, if you ever want to ask me questions about stuff for work, that's fine. But if you ask me asset specific stuff, I'm not saying shit. Because although obviously saying how many hairs Simba has wouldn't be really sensitive information, it's a slippery slope, and clients can be very protective, as they should be. I mean, it's billions of dollars that go into this stuff.
It's also Disney.
It's also Disney. They're renowned for really protecting their property, which again is their right, it's their stuff. So I don't think they'd clamp down on an individual artist doing a live stream, but at the same time, like, I wouldn't push them to. So the thing is, their licenses are crap anyway. By the EULA, they say that you can use it as a freelancer, but as soon as you want to work for a company, you're forced to delete the license. Like, what? That's weird.
What is it?
Marvelous Designers license. If you want to do work for a company, the company has to provide their own license.
Does that make sense? Depends on their income or their gross income or whatever.
Yeah. That makes sense. Also, kudos to Oscar for reading the EULA.
Who's messaging?
So, one of the people from high school. I messaged her recently. She did fashion design.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, hey, I just bought Marvelous Designer. Help! Because she doesn't use Marvelous itself, but obviously she knows pattern making. And she says, oh, what do you do, by the way? And I was like, I work in film. And then she ghosted me for a few days. And she just replied no. Let's see what this hair looks like. So now we've got the hair hanging a bit more. It might feel a bit more natural. Although I should probably bunch it up over the ear a little bit. But we'll see about that. Yeah, that feels a lot better. So now the question is, do I bring the hair here up to match, or do I bring that lower? I think a mix of both will be best, right? Let's go into braid root. Let's pull this down just a little bit. Tool options. Let's turn off stylus pressure. It's already off. Something like that. Save textures. And save view. Cool. And then let's go into head tide. And then just bring that up to match this. It should be a little bit of an overlap, really. So I'll just do that. There we go. Let's save that. Then save you. There we go. That feels a lot more natural. Hey, Becca. Like drooping the hair down.
Yeah.
Feels a lot more natural. Although that angle feels fucking weird.
Yeah, it does.
So I'm gonna have to figure out how to get the volume. Maybe I need to have the hair properly lie on top of this, like it's a surface. So maybe I need guides in here to really pull up a lot more. Which would make sense, because I guess they're being pulled tighter. So let's grab this guy and do that. And pull you in a little bit. Let's fix this guide. Now I'm getting really anal about the layering. I'm going to need to find some reference for this type of how the hair droops in this type of situation. Disney protects their property, proceeds to expose their parks and employers to COVID, the happiest place on earth. Yeah, I mean, if there's a place to catch COVID, it's Disney World, right? Making your dreams come true.
Though I have to say, they have actually abused like the PP. Like they apparently, you know, like people take photos and they're like, oh, my god, like it's shit. You know, you're not doing anything. It actually, it looks like they have tried their best, though they should not have opened.
There we go. KM, hi Michelle. I learned a lot from your articles for beginners, thank you. I hope you do more about pipeline for small projects like graduation short film. Yeah, I mean, the X-Gen, Beginner's Guide to X-Gen I made while doing my final year film. So it is, all the methods in there are pretty standard, really. Like for a student film, they're perfectly fine. I'll leave that side alone for now. So, we got that side working, for the most part. That angle feels really strange, so we'll have to figure out what we can do about that. Like, it's probably just a case of flattening it in. In fact, let's try that first. Let's get a really large sculpt brush and just do that, and do the same from this angle. That'll probably create a few issues around, but not the end of the world if it does. Oh, I think there's an issue with a guide. I think there's a guide or an area that's not covered by enough guides. Probably this one, to be honest. Let's put a guide right there. It's popping out the back, so let's fix that. So we got that. And then where else? How does rendering XGen with RenderMan work? Does it need a special kind of cache, or does it export patches for batch render? Yep, exactly same as Arnold. It actually works quite well. It's literally just a case of exporting caches for batch rendering. Oh, there we go. There's the issue. So we're now getting to that really tedious bit of grooming where I just need to add guides in to fix interpolation issues and then really finely thread them through a whole groom. And I will need to kind of noise these guys up a little bit because they are too flowy right now. That will do a bit of work for flattening. Yeah, that looks a lot better. It's a bit flatter now. Still not right. I need to create some partings in it, but I'm struggling with reference character rig and cache. Don't reference grooms. Just take your groom out of the scene, animate as normal, then you cache. Then you cache your animation out to an alembic, and then load your XGen cache on top of that. I did mention that in the XGen for Beginners tutorial, so just go back through. I think it's section 8 in that tutorial, and I kind of go through the general process of that. Although apparently, according to a comment today, I don't do that enough. So I had some guy like ranting at me in a comment section on my videos today. It's kind of funny because the thing they were ranting about is something that was in the tutorial. Invalid spline. So this one's broken now. Okay. I think the guides are broken again. Oh, it's just one of them. It's just this guy. Let's try selecting them all again. Convert them. Guides to curves. Delete. So we can convert all of them. So I don't know what it's bitching about. Curves to guides. Current guides have not been associated. Why are you breaking? Why are you like this? This is a brand new issue. I've never had this before. Has it died again? Maya's being a piece of shit again. Becca, help. Becca's ignoring my pleas. Pardon? What? No, I tried to use Blender. Come on, Matt. I think it's dead. Oh, yeah, there we go. Alright, let's reopen Maya. Set project. FKA twigs. I think the latest one will be fine. Of course I lost that guide. Alright, so let's try again. And the guide right there, because we know that's the one that's broken. And then pull you away because I don't trust you. Oh, that's got lock length turned on, hasn't it? There we go, that'll do. Also just going to droop these two a little bit more. Maybe that one there a little bit more. There we go. Right, so let's save the scene. And I guess time to just continue on the braids at the top. Bit frustrating. Part of me is tempted to take a little bit of an artistic liberty and start adding like nice shapes at the front, like not this stuff, because no, I refuse. But you know, things of that style, where it's like, you know, relaxed hair that's kind of fallen forward, and that sort of stuff. That sort of stuff is a lot of fun to do, like an absolute ton of fun. Let's go to braid root. So, I guess these need to be updated. So let's turn you that way. Normalize. Keep normalizing it over and over again until eventually it's a nice smooth shape that's short. Grab this guide. Nice smooth shape. Let's get some more guides in there. Let's get a guide there. What colour are you? You got pink. Okay. Does it really cut that far back? That's not right. I'm going to adjust the region map. Let's go to you. Let's go blue. Light blue specifically. Start this pressure off. And let's just pull this down a little bit more. I guess let's just increase purple a little bit too. Or pink, I guess. There we go. Save textures. Save textures. Cool, so now these two need to go up that way. Yeah, I can delete that one though. Normalize it. There we go, that's a bit better. So I guess we need to start extending the mask as well. Oh, that's not what I want at all. Save textures, save Ptex. It's beautiful. I see absolutely no issues with this. Oh, that is actually correct. Cool. Let's go with that guide. That's actually, no, let's go over a little bit. There we go. Let's slope it a little bit. Let's do that. Have it kind of lean with gravity a little bit. Normalize that over and over again. Why are they all doing that? Why can't they just follow what these ones are doing now? What happens if you don't normalize? So, to show you what normalizing is, let me just do something quick. So, guide normalizing is basically, if I go into guide control points, we've got guide point here, guide point here, guide point here, and then a huge gap, guide point, guide point, guide point, guide point. Normalizing, what it does is it tries to redistribute the guide points. So it tries to make them, well, it normalizes them. So it means that like the middle CV, as in like, you know, if there's 7 of them, then the 4th one will be exactly in the center of the guide. So if I normalize this now, and then that will smooth the shape slightly, but now if I go into guide control point, we've got 1, 2, 3, I don't have undo, 3, 4, 5. See how they're spaced much more evenly, like they're not bunched up? So that has a little positive side effect, which is because it's respacing CVs, it kind of has a very slight smoothing effect. So like here, for example, like it's all kind of bunched up and does this horrible sharp thing. If I normalize it, then it will kind of smooth that out a little bit, and if I normalize again and again and again, it will slowly smooth it until they're perfectly spaced from each other. And if CVs are perfectly spaced from each other, they can't do sharp turns unless you got a really high CV count, which in this case I don't. So yeah, that's why I normalize all the time. It's because it's basically a smooth button in a way. Like it's not actually smoothing. Like don't confuse it for a smooth button, but fundamentally you can use it in a similar way. It also has the benefit of like evenly distributing CVs, which is always a good thing in Groom. Unless you want some really crazy scraggle effects. Also makes the brushes easier to use, because when you use the sculpt brush, you're not actually sculpting the guide, you're just moving those CV points. So if I was to like really space this thing out so there's no CV points in the middle, I wouldn't be able to sculpt the middle of this thing. And if I normalize it, I'll get CV points in the middle, and then I can sculpt them. That is too far over. There we go. Let's sculpt you into place. Do something like that. Then sculpt you into place. Still doing that. Don't know why. Okay, let's do another guide. We're going to need some green ones down here, so let's just quickly get that in place. That green one's actually gone pretty much exactly where I want it, so I'm just going to leave that alone. Even though I want to fix it, I'm not going to. Normalize. Normalize you over and over again. There we go. So now I just need to put guides on the other side of that braid. And I've got 2 more braids to go, which I don't think I'll be able to finish a stream, but yeah, I'll give it a crack. So let's get, I'm going to do it in as few guides as possible, because I think that's kind of important for this. At least at this stage. Drop that this way. So it has a slight feeling of weight. Cool. Another guy down here. My wires. This is the most tedious bit of grooming I've done in quite a long time. What happens if I put a guide there? Alright, save. bit nicer. I got a feeling I'm gonna want to drastically kind of redo this area. So I don't really like the shapes I'm getting at the moment. I'm kind of digging the rainbow guides though. Maybe you can set it up so that the region map that you paint also gets used for the guide color. So it produces some of the weirdest looking things, but I kind of love it. So, time to get a little bit more stuff in here. So let's go with you. Normalize you. Looking cool with a golden star. Thank you very much. Normalize. It almost terrifies me how much work I've got left to do on this thing. In terms of the braids, like getting them look good. Because the thing is, you can get braids relatively quickly, like, you know, a day's work. But getting braids that blend nicely into the other grooms, that is not an easy task, and it's something that I really want to make sure I achieve to some extent, which itself is not an easy task because hitting your goals isn't the easiest thing to do. There we go, let's get guide there. Maybe it's quicker for me to just rotate and scale these. Like that, and then sculpt them into place. Yeah, that's way quicker. Why haven't I been doing that this whole time? Like, holy shit, I've been wasting my time. Let's go for this one though. Apparently there's nothing I love doing more than wasting my own time. I got really unlucky with guides in this area, or with clumps in this area. Unless that's just the, oh, that's probably just the map, yeah. Save textures, save ptex. There we go, that's better. Still pretty poor, but it's better. Oh, I need to update the comp maps as well, don't I? Save. There we go, that's better. I need to update this as a result. Save. And then turn it back on. Ah, that's better. Oh, that actually helped quite a lot. So I'd fucked up earlier. Why did I not detect that something was really wrong earlier? Mildly ashamed. Only mildly though. I don't care enough for it to be actually proper shame. Is that in blue? That is in blue. Let me check. Oh. Hello. Why are you not blue? The fuck? Okay. So that's the Pt.23 resolution being too low. So I'm just going to, for now, just like throw these into place. Fix you. You brought the example of the bag and said MD wouldn't be a good use because, well, I guess we won't calculate the wrinkles enough to do it well. But don't you use MD as a start? No, so the bag, the reason it wouldn't be a good use of Marvelous Designer is because it's a really rigid lever. And although you can do that in Marvelous, it's probably quicker to just model it and UV it conventionally. The reason I say that is because Marvelous is really good at cloth. And it can do leather, it can do all that stuff, but I don't know why you'd use it for something that's basically rigid. Like, you get the advantage of perfect UVs, but with something like leather, you can get away with not perfect. You can, you still have to make good UVs, but you don't need perfect UVs the same way you do with cloth. So it'd be quicker just to model it by hand in Maya, or Blender, or Houdini, or whatever. So that's why I say that. Because it doesn't really have cloth-like details, is ultimately what I meant to say there. Like a coat, for example. Yeah, Marvelous is a complete solution for that. You want to make sure that you're getting all that cloth detail, but you don't need it for that leather bag that I shown earlier. There's simply just not enough stuff going on. Marvelous is more of a time saver than a tool on its own, in my opinion. Like, you can, obviously, if you work in the fashion industry, then yeah, it's a tool. But if you're working in like games or film, then yeah, it's a massive time saver because sculpting folds is really really slow. But yeah, you get my point basically. Right, let's paint the last of this mask. Cool, that'll do. Save textures, save Pt.23, and then I need a guide. So who's watching at the moment? I know that I always get like a certain amount of people who are completely silent in the stream, but because there's people who comment on the video saying, oh, they really like watching them, but then they never actually comment during said streams. So who's like watching at the moment? Don't need that. That man is watching. One thing that's been really cool is I'm genuinely surprised, like, you know, some of you guys have hung around for quite a while. It's really cool. I thank you for doing that. It's very much appreciated. And it's not like one of those like random YouTuber appreciations, like, oh, I like the view count. Like, no, it's like, thanks for popping by each time. Does the pattern making process in Marvelous Designer mean it will inherently have good UVs? Yeah, so what happens is when you make the pattern, the pattern that you make is the UVs. So it's flawless UVs. They are literally perfect for cloth. As in, if you rotate your pattern to get a slightly different distortion in your fabric, because directionality of fabric does affect how they simulate, then your UVs will be appropriately distorted. Like it's just flawless fundamentally. And the nice thing is it's a complete byproduct of the process. It's not, I don't think it was an intentional design choice, it's just kind of how it ended up. That's one of the reasons to use Marvelous is the perfect UVs that it gives you. Yeah, I mean, in the next character that I do, I will be streaming some Marvelous Designer. Although, if you guys want, I can open stuff up right now and just like kind of show you. Like, I'm not going to be able to make a garment in that amount of time, but if you want me to show you, like, literally, this is what Marvelous Designer is, then I can open it up. Once I've finished placing these guides, anyway. Yeah, I've seen people who like use Marvelous Designer and then they auto UV it, like literally auto UV it in Maya, and I've never been more heartbroken in my life. It's like, you don't know what you have. Although that's one thing that's always made me laugh is when people do that. Like, obviously it's one thing to think, oh, I can make good UVs, but that clearly means they have literally no idea that Marvelous gives them good UVs. Like, they see that and think, oh, that's not good UVs. So they just have no idea what good UVs look like if they do that. Because there's no dispute. If you look at Marvelous Designer UVs, you can tell it's perfect.
Need a little bit of art direction, but I'll ask you tomorrow.
You need some art direction? I can help you.
I'm done.
You're done for a day?
Yeah. No, I've got my space student or space rocket thing.
Space to debt.
So I'm gonna start blocking like shaders.
Oh yeah?
But I don't know what, because of the project kind of thing that we're looking at, I don't know how we're gonna make it kind of more like real shaders, as in like more, you know, like vintage kind of, that kind of like brushed metal.
Yeah.
Because the concept I'm using is like very bright blue.
There we go. Got all the braids blocked out. So I'm gonna turn on the skin shader because I currently have it set to be off. I'm not gonna render a presentation render to put on Facebook. Let me set this back to its proper rotation. So it's 137. And then let's select FKA twigs itself. And I've got it set up so that I can just I'm not sure why you would want to change the UVs it gives you though. Like, I know it has UV editor to make changes, but I'm not entirely sure. Like, if you guys have a case in which you do that, like, let me know, because like in terms of Marvelous Design, I'm pretty new to it as a whole. Like, I used it years ago, and I've had Marvelous Designer 4 for quite a long time. It's like literally a trial version that I just never got rid of. But it's just like, yeah, it's it'd be really cool to hear kind of, you know, when do people actually use that UV editor? Because to me it just sounds like the most useless, like fundamentally useless thing to have in something that gives you perfect UVs. I know it doesn't give you a perfect layout, but still, that's something you can just do in Maya insanely quickly. Also, this is probably going to look barely any different. Oh, I need to up the resolution. I don't know why I started rendering in 4K for this project. Why am I doing a 4K by 4K square? It's like I want long render times, apparently. What I'm going to do, I'm going to limit the task manager. I'm going to limit the amount of thing it gets. The amount of CPU it gets, and then I'll open up Marvelous Designer just to show Ian. I'm going to limit it a bit more than that, actually. There we go. So I've got that very heavily limited right now. Task Manager. Yeah, so I've got it disabled from like this CPU onwards. So let's leave that doing its thing for a while. The hairline's so bad. So let's open Marvelous. So what I'll do, I'll load one of the pre-built avatars. So let's go avatar. Let's go male, and let's use this guy. And I'm gonna load a pre-made garment as well. And let's load pants. And let's load the t-shirt as well. Annoyingly, the patterns it gives you by default are actually really simple patterns. Like, they're really nothing special at all. They are clean though, they work. But fundamentally, let me just remember what the controls are for this program. Oh yeah, there we go. So fundamentally, if I click simulate right now, or maybe I shouldn't do that while I'm rendering. Maybe that's a bad idea. Alright, what I'm going to do, I'm going to kill the render in RenderMan. I can kick this render off stream, that's fine. So let's just start that simulating. So fundamentally, the absolute basics of it is you draw out a clothing pattern here, or a sewing pattern, and you can then simulate it on the model, sew it however you want, and you can push and pull it around. So if I increase the resolution of this. So let's say 10. This gives me kind of, you know, a super basic t-shirt type thing. I'm going to change the material to default for simulation. It's a bit quicker. There we go. So yeah, I have this like super basic clothing. In fact, I'm going to delete the trousers, just to make it seem a bit quicker. But yeah, so what you can do with this is if you wanted to make, like, let's give him a crop top, you can just select all this stuff on the bottom. In fact, let's do it for it's symmetrically set up, so let's grab both of those and just do that. I can resimulate that, and now I've got a crop top. If I need it to be better fitted to his chest, then I can taper it in on the side, so I can literally go in and do this. So let's pull, is it fitting well there now? I think, let's pull this in a little bit. And pull this in a little bit more. And let's go into the curve points. I still haven't memorized all the shortcuts, but I'll get there. Just pull that in. And that will now be tighter below there. It's kicking out a bit at the bottom, so I can just go in and remove some fabric from the bottom. Oh, that's not what I want to do. Move a bit of fabric from the bottom. And now that tapers in more at the bottom. And obviously you can play about with this as much as you want. It gives you little debug modes, so I can go into where's the tension one? Which view was it? I can't remember which view this was. There's one that shows you like how tight it fits, so that's contact points, that's fine. This is like stress levels in the fabric, so we know it's a bit too tight just below the armpit, although it's pretty much always going to be a little bit like that. But it's a full-on fabric simulation, and you just do whatever you want. So, oh, I've missed loads of messages. Imagine you do a jacket with different materials you can separate. It's a different UDIMs. I just assumed you'd want to do that in. I'd assume you'd want to do that in Maya, but I guess yeah, you can do it in here. I'm also wondering if you could use Unreal to do high-end renderings, since it can also use Octane. You can also click and hold down the Simulate button to change the GPU simmer. What? Ooh, hello. When did they make this a thing? Let's turn off the heat map. Oh wow, that's so much quicker. Holy shit. It's almost too quick now though. That's not moving in real time, is it? Maybe it is. Alright, in that case I'm going to start my render. The hair looks so bad from the front right now. Which is annoying because that's the angle it has to look good at. So let's just start preview render. Let that do its thing. But yeah, so fundamentally that's what you can do with this software. I could load in, let's create a new scene. So I could import an OBJ. Go to projects, personal work, FKA twigs. And let's go to, I think it's in modeling, Maya, exports, head. And let's bring in sub D0. I don't need sub D4. Bring that in centimeters and open. That's all fine. That's fine. And yeah, so in terms of like creating a shape, you can literally just go in and draw whatever shape you want. And let's change that. That is set to GPU simulate. Move that into place. Put that there, and just hit play. And that'll just simulate a piece of cloth on the head. Obviously that's not that useful, just doing that, but then you can start sewing it however you want. Fundamentally that's the point of Marvelous. And the UVs it gives you are whatever this window says, basically, unless you change it in UV editor. But yeah, I'm going to close this just to let RenderMan breathe a little bit. That looks so bad. The partings. I'll have to figure out how to clean that up. Starting to make progress though. Let's delete these two. And at the very least it looks better than the last stream. Nowhere near good, but better than the last stream. Because most of the work we did wasn't here anyway, it was... oh, that's where some of my issues come from. It's built up too much here. Yeah, so I'm just going to let that clean up. Do you guys have any questions or anything like that? Or anything you want to chat about? Because I'll stay on for a few more minutes, like 5 more minutes or so. Oh yeah, in terms of the next streams, so I won't be streaming on Thursday, just because Becca is travelling back to her parents on Friday. So I kind of want Thursday night, just, you know, for me and her, because we won't, like, be in the same room for, like, what, 3 weeks? 3.5 weeks? Something like that. Yeah, I'll literally be in a house by myself for 3 weeks. It'll be very lovely. But yeah, so I'll stream tomorrow instead. So yeah, I'll be streaming tomorrow, not Thursday. Thursday is night for me and Becca. Then I'll probably stream on Friday as well, because chances are, while she's in Belfast, I'm gonna really live life and stream every fucking night. Shut up. Yeah, I'll probably stream a little bit more often while Becca's away. Maybe like 4 or 5 days a week instead of 3. What? What?
I get to call you, you know.
Yeah, I'll still call you. What? What are you looking sad for? You're the one leaving me. Like, you're the one travelling to see your parents. Like.
This should be an interesting apartment to come back to, by the way. I hope you clean it while I'm gone.
Oh no, I'm gonna let all the dust build up.
So help
Because I just know how much you love to clean. So I'm gonna just let the dust build up.
I will actually.
And so you arrive, you can relax and do a bit of vacuuming.
I will. In this bed. Mike didn't realise you had to wash your sheets every 2 weeks.
Wait.
Don't you bullshit.
My replacement strategy was just to get rid of the sheets every month and buy new sheets.
Not even every month, Mike. It was like every fucking 6 months.
It wasn't every 6 months.
It was definitely.
It was not every 6 months. The public shame. The shame.
Mike is just a dirty bitch.
Thanks.
What the takeaways?
I am a reformed dirty bitch, actually.
That looks so weird.
Yeah, no, the hair's really bad. Partings, I need to find out how to increase the PTEX resolution of parting maps, because the option that you normally use isn't there, which is an issue. So yeah, I'll have to find out why that's the case. There's little workarounds here that I can do. But yeah, anyway, right, I'm going to end the stream here, guys. I'll be back on tomorrow, and then as I said, I won't be on Thursday.
Bye!
And yeah, you'll probably find that after Becca's gone, she'll like randomly pop up in these streams as a commenter and like text-wise berate me. It'll be great. I look forward to it. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your night, guys. See you tomorrow if you're interested in coming back. If not, I say this every stream. That's fine too. Bye, guys.